and welcome to ET Interview. I'm Sonali Krishna and I have joining me today all the way from Singapore, none other than Martin Sorrell, Group CEO of WPP. Martin, thank you so much for joining us. First things first, the NDTV lawsuit against WPP has been dismissed. I mean, a victory of sorts for you. What would you say contributed to this result?
Well, we haven't had the written judgment. All we've had is the judgment read out in court. But it was dismissed on two grounds. One, that New York was not the right jurisdiction. And I think I should read, NDTV failed to state any valid claim against either WPP or Qatar. I don't think that surfaced significantly in NDTV's release. But there were two grounds. One is wrong jurisdiction, and the second is they failed to state any valid claim.
You know, you do not expect much to change in 2013, we hear, and you're expecting it to be a rather tough year. Why is it that your forecast for 2013 is so conservative?
Well, you know, we hope we'd like to err on the conservative. We're forecasting this year at about 3% growth. Last year was 2.9%. This is like-for-like growth. Obviously, acquisitions supplement it. Last year was supplemented by another 2.9%. Currency was a headwind for us last year, down by 2.3% because sterling was strong against the euro in particular, and to probably a lesser extent the dollar. This year we'll have acquisitions again, and probably currency will be in our favour because sterling has weakened already significantly against the dollar. Probably stayed the same pretty much, certain to our budget rates for the euro. So we're looking really, we've seen very little change in the pattern of behaviour amongst clients, and there are four grey swans as we would put it. The first would be the Eurozone crisis, which Mario Draghi has done an excellent job, I think, in this first year or so of managing it. We have got the results of the Italian election, and then the issues in Spain around corruption, which probably have threatened to derail some of the Eurozone process and progress. But having said that, it seems to be in fairly good order. So that grey swan, these are known unknowns, that grey swan has probably got a little bit whiter. China hard soft landing, I think we're all clear that China is a soft landing, and that we're seeing a softer landing in places like Brazil. Brazil will improve, we think. Russia, which continues to be strong, and indeed India, which was good last year. We think this year will be even stronger. We'll probably cross $500 million of revenue in India. We have now getting on for 14,000 people in India. And will grow this year, I think, by double digits, and last year was close to double digits. And so our BRIC penetration, including China, of course, is strong. China is now 1.4 billion of revenue and about 16,000 people, and growing very significantly, double digits last year and probably again this year, with an economy growing at 7.5%. We tend to grow at twice the rate of GDP growth. So hard soft landing, I think, has gone away. The third area of concern was the Middle East. That's probably got worse because of concerns about Iran, and added to the problems in Egypt and Tunis and Syria and even Tunisia. And then last but not least, and probably most importantly, the US deficit. That has not been addressed by Congress. The can's been kicked down the road, certainly on New Year's Eve. And now we have the sequester kicking in because of the failure to reach agreement on budget deficit reduction, and that's left, that's the elephant in the room, and the US economy is still the biggest in the world despite the growth of China. It's 16 trillion against 8 trillion, 8.5 trillion for China out of a total of 65 trillion. So if America isn't running on all cylinders, the whole world is having a problem too. And what we have to see is what the effect of the sequester, $85 billion in cuts, indiscriminate cuts, the way that it's going at the moment, what the effect of that sequester will be in terms of GDP growth. Most of the forecasters are talking about a 60 basis point drag. So if you thought that the US was going to grow by 2%, it would probably grow by about 1.5%. So all those things add up to a degree of uncertainty. Corporates, on the other hand, are in very strong shape. Profits as a proportion of GDP are at the highest levels they've been historically. Margins are high, share prices are high. So the background is much stronger than the background that we had pre-Lehman in September 2008. But there's considerable, there's a paradox. I think companies are basically more confident, their balance sheets are better, but on the other hand, the uncertainties are significant, and they're worried about making decisions, particularly in an era of stricter corporate governance and the microscope of the press and everybody else being on them.